Doom the Dark Ages does exactly what Doom always does. It grabs you by the cherries, chucks you headfirst into a meat grinder and dares you to blink. It's frantic, bombastic chaos at breakneck speed, the sort of game that will give older gamers like me early onset arthritis. Now don't get me wrong, as far as first person carnage goes, this is top shelf stuff. Doom the Dark Ages will absolutely be in the best of 2025 conversations for how violently it kicks your teeth in with medieval flair. But here's the bigger question, lads. Does Dark Ages show the franchise is starting to feel a bit limp? Bit of franchise fatigue, like an aging rock star belting out the same hits? Well, put the kettle on, grab a cuppa and polish your BFG as we answer this and more in today's review. Doom the Dark Ages boots you straight into a medieval bloodbath where you, the eternal slayer of hell's worst and ugliest, find yourself defending a city full of absolute twats. Knights, priests, peasants, it doesn't matter. They're all doomed and you're the only one who can stop the slaughter. Now, if you're one of those lore-hungry Doom fanatics who reads every rune and scroll like it's the Da Vinci Code, you'll be grinning ear to ear. This one's a proper origin story that links back to Doom Eternal and the 2016 reboot and sets it all up. For the rest of us, the folks who couldn't give a flying rat's ass about Doom lore, worry not. This ain't some slow-paced, overindulgent fantasy drama. There's no hour-long cutscenes about ancient prophecies and who shagged whose sword maiden. It's straight to the point. Quick bursts of story that actually kept me engaged. Surprisingly, I find myself leaning in, wanting to know what hellhole we were off to next, and I can't deny it had my interest piqued. But let's be honest, what you really want to know is how's the combat, because Doom ain't Doom without turning a room full of demons into chunky soup with a rock guitar solo playing in the background. This franchise practically reinvented the FPS genre with its own feral twist. Lose that DNA and you lose what Doom is. The good news, it still absolutely slaps. The bad news, well, there's one major change on the combat that could be a bit divisive, but more on that later. Combat then is still as beautiful as ever, a frenzied ballet of blood and bullets, and if this is your first outing in Doom, the best way to describe it is a dance with the devil. Your screen is a war zone, fireballs, claw swipes and all that manner of hellspawn trying to redecorate your face with their teeth. You'll be dodging, dashing and jumping like a caffeinated ninja, swapping between weapons that look like they were built by a lunatic blacksmith. Combat then is a dance. See, it's not just about shooting, it's the order and the way that you do it. Weaken an enemy enough and they'll start glowing like they've just seen your browser history. That's your cue to leap in and rip them a new orifice with a finisher. And why would you do that, you ask? Well, because it showers you with bullets, health, armour, all the good stuff your sorry ass needs to keep going. And you'll need it too. Your health's always getting chipped away at. Your ammo stash is running on fumes. Doom doesn't ask for flair, it demands it. If you ain't stylish, you're dead. And that's where the new trick up the Slayer's gauntlet comes into play, the shield. It's also where it's going to divide some fans. The shield then, at first glance, it's just a bit of kit that blocks damage. Nice, simple, practical, but in the Dark Ages it's so much more than a panic button. It grounds the combat in a way the series has never dared before. Gone is the aerial ballet of double jumps and mid-air headshots, and dare I say it, and it does pain my soul, gone too is the heavy dependency on gunplay, and that's where things get spicy or bland depending on where you sit with it. This shield ain't just for hiding behind, it's an all-purpose murder frisbee. It can be upgraded like your other toys and it quickly becomes the Swiss Army knife of ultra-violence. Wanna explode a pack of weaklings in one glorious charge? No problem, just dashing like a maniac. Need to melt that smug prick in plate armour? Heat him up with a few shots, then carve through him like a Sunday roast with that spiky shield of yours. And then there's the big change, parrying. Yes, parrying in a Doom game. Time it right, catch one of those glowing green attacks and you'll unleash a counter so nasty it will leave your enemies stunned and your pants slightly moist. Throw in some savage melee swipes with your offhand, which of course spits out additional health and armour, and suddenly you see exactly what id Software is up to here. They want you in it, face first, teeth bared, swinging and slashing through the chaos like a medieval maniac on bath salts. No more bunny hopping across the map. You're planted, primal and positively feral, and truth be told, it works. It doesn't slow combat down, it doesn't take away from the gratification, but what I realised a few hours in is how quickly I started to use the shield, almost as much as my trusty shotgun. I sort of love this and I sort of hated it in equal measure, and as you dodge attacks, parry the green ones, finish the purple ones, you soon start to see the combat is actually less skill based in how you wish to tackle an enemy, but instead more rock paper scissors in the demands of the gameplay mechanics. Now look, it ain't just non-stop blood and guts from start to finish. Doom the Dark Ages actually packs in a decent bit of meat beyond the massacre. Your trusty map's back and it's filled to the brim with secrets and side paths, most of which you'll blindly miss on your first go, only to be reminded by the end level screen that you've explored about as much as a hungover burglar. But that's a good thing, it means there's plenty to come back for. Completionists, get ready to clench. Loads of gold is tucked away in secret rooms used to upgrade your arsenal and abilities so that you can punch harder. What really surprised me were the set pieces, little moments of madness like two towering titans beating the unholy shit out of each other while you skirmish below, and it doesn't stop there. One minute you're piloting a giant mech and the next you're flying a bloody dragon. It's over the top, daft as hell, and I loved it. But here's where it stumbles, and stumbles hard: the world itself. You see, it's all smoke and mirrors, designed like one big beautiful theatre stage, and you're the only poor sod actually performing. All those allied soldiers standing around, they're as useful as a wet tissue in a sword fight. They can't be killed, they don't fight, they sort of just pose. The levels themselves are structured more like obstacle courses than actual places that have been lived in. It's all platforms and choke points with explosions queued up, but not much in the way of soul. It starts to feel less like a world worth saving and more like a film set waiting to be destroyed. And that, dear viewer, is where the Doom formula starts to show its crusty, well-worn arse. You see, any franchise that's managed to survive longer than your average TikTok trend has one thing in common: reinvention. Proper reinvention, not just sticking a new hat on the same old bollocks and calling it fresh. Doom's actually done this before. Remember Doom 3? That reboot came in hot with a horror vibe, slower pace, jump scares, that creeping dread. For a lot of fans it felt like Doom had lost its way, but it learned, it evolved, it went full tilt again, and now we're knee deep in hell once more, bashing demons with a shield. But here's the problem: I don't think the current Doom look can keep getting away with this. It needs a proper kick up the arse again, not a gentle nudge, not another Shield-esque mechanic. Look at Resident Evil, switched to first person, freaked us all out, then swung back to third to keep us on our toes. Forza, it spun off into Horizon, swapped gearhead tinkering for open world chaos. Even Gears of War dabbled with semi-open world exploration. And don't get me started on Zelda and Mario, the absolute masters of flipping the script time and time again. Here's the point, and listen closely: you don't need to kill the soul of Doom. You don't need to rip out its spine and mount it on a stick. But you do need to evolve it. This is the third outing in this style, and whilst it's still glorious fun, it's also starting to feel like reheated demon stew, given it existed in this current Val since 2016. The shield that we have here is a nice shake of the bottle, but we need more. Whisper it now. What if Doom had a proper co-op mode? Imagine tag teaming the hordes of hell with your mates, or dare I say it, a Halo Infinite style open world. You can scoff, you can scream heresy, but the best franchises survive by being brave, by sticking a middle finger up at tradition and trying something bold, because if it doesn't, Doom risks going the way of Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, repetitive, predictable, formulaic, and that would be the biggest sin of all. You can send the hate comments my way, or maybe hit the like button because you feel sorry for the hate comments coming my way, but this is how gaming has always been and will continue to be, and I still say Doom could do that without losing that chaotic feel. Graphics next, and this one's a funny old beast. On the surface, the Dark Ages looks bloody fantastic, all guts, grime and gorgeous gore. But the real MVP here, performance. id Software are absolute wizards when it comes to squeezing every last frame out of their id Tech engine. They know that Doom is about moving faster than a rat up a drain pipe with a rocket launcher strapped to its back. The scalable graphic options are bang on. Doesn't matter if you've got a GPU from the Stone Age or a rig that looks like it powers NASA, you'll find that 60 FPS sweet spot no problem. And that's no small feat when your screen's constantly exploding with 1,000 enemies, 20 fireballs and a soundtrack that's actively trying to rupture your lungs. And when you take that into account, you have to be impressed. The lighting, solid, if a bit on the safe side, lacking some of that dynamic bounce and glow that you get from the flashier AAA titles. Particle effects though, absolute chef's kiss, and the enemies mangled, mutated and moist. The Bonnie Blue of gaming monsters. The real visual hero though is the guns, proper eye candy, big, chunky, metallic bastards that dominate the screen. The detail's ridiculous, you'll see every scratch, scuff and glowing rune, and it all pays off when you're in the thick of it. But when the action slows down and you finally catch your breath, you start to notice a few cracks. The environmental textures a bit muddy, shadows a little simplistic. Everything is functional, yes, but they're more theme park ride than lived in world. Not a deal breaker, like I said, speed is the name of the game, but worth clocking all the same. And apparently, in fairness, a path tracing patch is on the way, so hopefully this breathes just a little more life into the materials. And let's talk art direction, because does it feel like Doom? Well, yeah, it absolutely does. The visual identity is intact, heavy, gritty, dripping with despair, but if I'm honest, it's all looking a bit samey. Every level's just a different shade of misery. Browns, greys, blacks, the whole palette's been nicked from a burnt lasagna. Feels like the artist just picked one colour per mission and called it a day. Going back to my earlier point on franchise fatigue, this is where Doom could really level up, unleash the art team, let them go wild, push boundaries, inject a bit of chaos into the colour palette like they do with the gameplay. Because right now, for all its polish, the world feels less like a place worth saving and more like a place that you couldn't wait to get the hell out of. Now, Doom's soundscape has always been top tier, like someone strapping a Marshall amp to your skull and whispering sweet nothings made of gunpowder and demon screams. And while the Dark Ages might not deliver a new iconic soundtrack to rival Rip and Tear, make no mistake, it still absolutely slaps like a demon's hand on your ass. Sound then is once again the beating heart of the combat. It pulses through every fight, syncing with the rhythm of your slaughter. The heavy rock metal roars into life as soon as you start painting the walls with demon guts. An audio cue that says it's time to dance, sugar tits. Then just as quickly the tempo drops when the carnage clears, giving you a moment to breathe before ramping you back up for the next set piece. But it's not just about the soundtrack, no lads, the sound effects are the real headliner here. In fact, they're so punchy they drown out the music half the time, and that's not a complaint. It's glorious. Roars, grunts, gurgles, splats, booms, crunches, it's all there. Every single action, from a bullet ripping through flesh to your shield sending some poor sod flying, it all has its own bone rattling cue. It's an orchestra of violence and you are the conductor. So whether you're into this kind of relentless high octane noise or not, one thing's undeniable: this is the soul of Doom. The Dark Ages then is a rip-roaring success. It stays true to the DNA of Doom. Fast, frantic and filled to the brim with over-the-top violence. Glorious gunplay? Check. Combat so fast it will dislocate your thumbs? Check. A soundtrack that melts faces and visuals that will make your eyes cream themselves? Double check. And the cherry on top, this thing is optimised to hell and back. Doesn't matter if you're rocking a high-end beast or a potato strapped to a monitor, you'll still get a front row seat to the carnage. Everyone's invited to this bloodbath. Now the shield, that's going to cause a bit of a bar brawl. Some will love the speed and flair it adds, others will mourn the slightly lesser focus on gunplay. But the bigger point for me is that as much as I've loved this entry, I'm officially putting id Software on notice. The franchise needs to shake it up a bit, otherwise it risks becoming just another loud, predictable bloodbath. Far Cry. Sorry about that. Still, make no mistake, whether you're a long-time Slayer or a newcomer just looking to smash demon skulls with medieval flair, Doom The Dark Ages is easily one of the best FPS games of 2025. Brutal, beautiful, and brilliantly unhinged. Until next time, my lovelies, Reggie